Okay, everything that we've been doing has been right in a lot of the things that we're addressing, okay? That we're addressing that we have a right of claim against a fictional person. But the problem we have is that basically that fictional person, we have abandoned him, and we have to come in as the father or the mother, the natural father or the natural mother, to lay claim to our begotten children, both natural and all constructive children. And our constructive children are being held as naturalization citizens that were conferred the nationality of a United States or a federal United States upon the person after birth by any means whatsoever. We have to come in under the right, our natural rights, and that is our begotten children. That certificate of live birth. Think about it. What does every parent have to have when they put their child in school? They have to have a birth certificate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The certificate of live birth is a birth certificate for the fictional person. The Bible entry or a hospital birth certificate is for the natural living person. Two different birth certificates, but most people are operating under that fictional one, trying to claim that that's the birth certificate for the living child. It's not. And see, he is your prodigal son or daughter. Just like in the story that I was talking about a month ago or so, the prodigal son scenario. And they have assigned him into this federal United States as a naturalization citizen there, not as a United States of America natural citizen. You have to come in and break those presumptions. Okay? That you have to come in and you have to adopt those children. Adopt, to take as one's own that which was not so before.
Mm.
You guys need to really sit down and start doing what I've told you over and over again, is breaking out the damn dictionaries and stop listening to all this other bullshit. Most people don't even know what, see, when you go in there and you look up child and children, it's got in there, especially under children, it's got grantee in there. You pull these definitions down and then you start looking at the words that are in the definition. You highlight them, underline them, and then it starts to make some sense to you. Mother's natural guardianship, the succession of a mother to the guardianship of her natural children upon the death of her husband and their father, upon the abandonment of the family, or upon the removal of the guardianship of the children by the court. But there's more to it than just that, okay? See, they don't tell you everything in the dictionary. You have to be able to read between the lines. And for a father, basically the highest authority in any court out here is the father over a child. When the father steps forward, basically, and claims and adopts that child, the court is now out of the picture. Unless the father or something like that is a sexual abuser, that basically, I'll tell you right now, the courts, as holding guardianship, they have stepped in and taken over the office of father. That is the office you need to claim, is office of father. Person in loco, L-O-C-O, parentis, P-A-R-E-N-T-I-S. One who has taken a position in reference to a child of a lawful father, assuming the office of a father and the obligation of supporting the child, assuming a parental character and discharging parental duties, although not the parent. And that's what the federal government is doing, this foreign federal state. Look up Ward, okay? All of these definitions, I'll be posting about 9 pages of definitions up to Tom. But this is so damn simple. Anybody can walk into court and demand the release of their children. You come in and you prove that you are not the certificate of live birth person. You put your foot down as a mother or a father, as a parent. The Our Father prayer was out there to tell us a lot about this. The firstborn is the one who has the lawful right of inheritance. The certificate of live birth person is not the firstborn. He was the secondborn. Just like many stories in the Bible that took the inheritance away from the firstborn. And then they had to come back and try and fight to get it back. Or the father had to step in and take control and get the prodigal son back into the fold so that he could give a lawful inheritance to the firstborn. Jesus was the secondborn. The man Emmanuel was the firstborn. In a lot of cases, these guys have been renamed to basically get out of the system because they had their inheritance tied up with one that was basically operating with the same name. Abraham. To show the difference, he had to get renamed as Abraham. I think that's how it's pronounced. You have 2 constitutional guarantees that the court shall always be open to, and that's an open court. The other constitutional guarantee is free justice. They cannot impose exorbitant fees or anything else on true justice. It's free to all American citizens. deities. He who owes, he is indebted. Deitist, persons who entertain a religion which admits no divine revelation as its foundation. Fictions are that. They don't admit any divine revelation because they're all just fictionary. De-ingressi. D-E, okay, and then the next word is I-N-G-R-E-S-S-U. A writ of entry which lies for the tenant who had been wrongfully disposed of his land. All of these mortgages out here. Also, the next one. D, identa nomus, of identical name. A writ to cause the release of a person, and that's the living father / grantor, of the same name as the true defendant, a vagrant idiot begotten son, the grantee. Why do some of these people win court cases on insanity? Because your fictional person is the one that can only be tried in these courts, and 99% of these courts, only when the living person has harmed somebody else, then that's a court of a different color. But everything else is all there, and the only one that is the true defendant is your vagrant idiot begotten son, the grantee. And he's insane. You are not that. You come in and put your foot down. You show his certificate of live birth, then you show your birth certificate. Whether it be the hospital birth certificate or whether it be the Bible, and you put your foot down at that point in time with either one of those. And that's what people need to do, is start putting their foot down and stop letting these people run all over you. Okay?
Yeah, I did that in
the foot, let me talk, and then
okay.
Basically when I'll open up the mic to everybody else, okay? Pedius, P-E-D-I-S, position, P-S-T-O-S-I-T-I-O-N. The placing of the foot, the physical actual action of stepping on the land to effect an entry and an assumption of possession. And then pedius possessional, possession by foothold, a momentary physical presence on land. In one sense, an actual possession by occupying of the whole or the entire tract under consideration, as distinguished from a virtual possession. And see, that's what they're trying to do, is under a virtual possession. And then there's two possessios, one civilis and the other naturals. That Expatriation Act comes big time into this, because you have to step in and claim that basically they have falsely naturalized your begotten son or daughter. Because they were born of you, the father or mother. And by that right, they became an American citizen.
This is correct.
See, that's all that this thing was about. And see, nobody was looking at children. If they did, they never saw what they really needed to. First in line, first in time. First in time, first in right. That's the maxim. That basically the firstborn is the one that's entitled to the inheritance. And that goes under the federal system. The federal system of controls over the father and his first begotten son of man. And basically you go into fee, F-E-U-D-S, feudal, fee, F-E-F-I-E-F. Those are all under the federal system, which is all back under the Pharaonic or the Pharaonic system of Egypt of control over the living. So, I've got a bunch of this stuff up here. You've got to come in under sound and disposing mind and memory. You've got to come in as that you're not the idiot, and basically show, and you have a right of self-defense, a right founded upon the law of nature that deemed necessary in organized society to personal safety and security as not incompatible with the public good. You have to come in and protect your children. Because what I said about a week or two ago about the whorehouse, it's not really a whorehouse. It's an orphanage house. But they are utilizing it as a whorehouse, so I really wasn't totally wrong. And basically they're coming in under carnal abuse and carnal knowledge and statutory rape. Statutory rape is carnal knowledge. And statutory basically means by statute. Don't necessarily go by the definitions that they have in the dictionary. You've got to read between the lines. What is statutory really talking about? Statutes. And they're raping your children by those statutes. So that, in my opinion, is totally statutory rape. Wages. You have never been properly compensated for your wages. You think you have, but you haven't, because you don't understand the monetary system. Take a look at some of the wages that people were getting in the different offices that they held in the government years ago. $5,000 or so a year. Well, that $5,000 was 5,000 silver dollars. Now, they compensate that and say, well, basically, we're going to give you $20,000 in modern time here. But you've got to take that $20,000 and divide it by 18, because one silver dollar is worth 18 Federal Reserve dollars. So you divide 20,000 by 18, and you're getting less than 1,000, or a little over $1,000 pay, compared to what it should have been years ago of 5,000. Until the people start really waking up and taking on the responsibility, and that's one of the things, is you need to take on the responsibility of father and mothership over your children, both natural and fictionary. The living, basically, are there, and you're supposed to be able to release them at the age of 21. The fictionary is a complete imbecile, an idiot, basically incompetent person, insane person, deranged person that needs to be monitored for his whole lifetime. But you need to get them claimed by adoption, because right now they're being held under that foreign naturalization. You need to bring them back into America and have them, that foreign naturalization, be expatriated away from. So everything I've been saying all these years has all been right here. And all you need to do is, basically, if you've got your Bible entry page or your hospital birth certificate, that is where you put your foot down, that you are the natural father or mother. The certificate of live birth is for the fiction, your prodigal son or daughter that has left home and you've abandoned them. You didn't know it, but basically you did. But they set it up after 1 year, because that was under the feudal system, that basically they could start this process at 1 year of age of the natural born child. I know I've read that before in different dictionaries. I just haven't got it up here on the one that I pulled down, because I was doing most all the definitions out of Ballantyne's. And when you claim your children back, they're to bring all their belongings with them. So, basically, I'll be sending Tom this tomorrow morning, and these definitions, 9 pages of them. You can look them over. You don't need to use them all, basically. There's some there that basically you write up your own proposal to the court. You take the certificate of live birth in, and you claim that child. If you have a DD-214, that is for a military child. If you have a baptismal certificate, that is for a religious child. And you need to basically adopt them and bring them home and get them expatriated away from those foreign governments, those foreign states. Because initially they were naturalized here in this as a United States citizen. At the very beginning of the Bible, it tells you a lot of stuff in the first chapter and the second chapter and then the third chapter. In the first chapter, the word used was God, G-O-D, capital G-O-D. In the second chapter, all of a sudden it became Lord God, and Lord was all capitalized. See, in the first chapter, God was the Father, the grantor, you. In the second chapter, Lord God is your begotten Son, grantee, who is your prodigal son, that basically took your assets under a false hair on the arm scenario, like Esau and Jacob scenario, and took it and left town. And then later on, it talks about Lord, just Lord, capital L-O-R-D. And that is a consenting representative of the grantee. You, the living man, okay, by birth, but you have to pray that the bankers or the religious leaders will approve your request. And see, they've got several things built into all these definitions here that basically the grantee can't allow certain things to be done. A ward, okay? Domestic relationship, an infant placed by the authority of law under the care of a guardian. While under the care of the guardian, a ward can make no contract, whatever binding upon him, except for necessities. Okay? That's the only thing. Anything outside of that, that's why none of the items that we ever sent in there, they were not necessities for the ward. They were necessities for us, but the only way we can get control over that guarantee, that prodigal son, and bring him home is to adopt him and bring him home. Since he's operating under a foreign naturalization, we can't just claim him. We have to adopt him first. Then we get him home and beat the living shit out of him. Mm. Take everything away from him and give it to the lawful firstborn. Take the time and read through these definitions. Highlight them, print them out, and then highlight different things. And then make up your letter or whatever to the court. And all you have to do is present your fictional certificates of live birth or DD-214 and say, hey, I'm claiming this child. Here's my proof that he belongs to me. I'm the father or the mother. And when a lawful, natural father or mother appears on the scene and has taken their office of father or mother, that office stands higher than any court out there. Even the president can't override a father and a mother. The only time they can be overridden is when basically there is proof that basically the child is totally being molested in some regards. And see, this was a procreation, a product of offspring. And you begot, so you precreate. To begot means to precreate as a father or sire. But sometimes to both male and female, and infrequently used to the females only. See, they've got to cover all here that basically if a woman is not married, she still has the power to come in and claim her begotten fictional person. And place them under the father or mother's natural guardianship. And see, for a natural child, you really only have jurisdiction over them until they attain the age of 21. Although half the damn parents in this country still trying to control what the kids are doing after that. You're supposed to have released them, but oh no, we got to have control over everything because the government's controlling us, so we got to act like we can control everything too. The only one you'll maintain control over is the mentally incompetent, the idiot, which is the fiction. And once you get him back under your jurisdiction, you can put him to death at any point in time, and nobody will miss him. Okay, so that's all you need to do. You just need to you need to have your proof that you're not the fiction. And that's one of the items in the words that I have there is, let me see if I find it here. Prima facie presumption, a presumption which holds good until overthrown by proof, or a rebuttable presumption, a presumption which is not conclusive. So you've got to come in and you've got to remove the presumption that they are trying to say that you're the defendant or you're the person on that certificate of live birth. You're not. Say, here, I've got my proof over here that I was born before this one. So basically, it doesn't hold water that basically this second one was born after me. Or it holds water, but basically, and he's a fiction because I haven't seen him around anywhere. And see, this is adoption by acknowledgement. The term used in some statutes which provide for the by acknowledgement by the father of his child born out of wedlock. And see, that's your fictional person. He was born out of wedlock. But you're the father of him. You're the creator over him. Not your mother or your other father. They're just on that certificate of live birth to show lineage of inheritance. Everything really evolves around you. And you have to step forward and take the responsibility of either being the father or the mother of that child and claim them back home. So like the movie All My Children. Couple movies that you might want to go see. Oliver Twist. Little Orphan Annie. Peter Pan. Especially the new one. In the new Peter Pan, when all the boys came home with the girl and the two brothers, the parents decided to adopt them. And then basically the kids emptied their pockets and they had all these emeralds and gold and trinkets and everything. So basically they brought with them their riches. That's what will happen when you claim your children. They have to bring their belongings with them. We've been approaching it in saying pretty much the same thing, but you have to use the right words. And that's where the downfall was. And it had to be that you had to come in as the father and then claim your children. That's simple. And see, that's when you show that you have a sound and disposing mind and memory. And then basically you can read over all those definitions. But you don't need to make this too damn fancy. Basically a one-page item or whatever, and say, hey, I'm coming in and I want my children. I'm the natural father or natural mother. I want my children. You can send it in by fax or whatever. You can send in a copy of your Bible entry page as I am the living Father. And basically, this is my begotten son or daughter. With the certificate of live birth. Or the DD-214. Or the baptismal certificate. bring your children home. Or like the movie All My Children, Oliver Twist was about a bunch of orphans. And it was a twist. And basically twist, I've told you in one of the other definitions, how they have twisted these laws and everything out here for their benefits in the Pharaohic system. Little orphan Annie, when she got adopted, basically, she had all the riches she wanted. Daddy Warbucks. Our inheritance is there. But we have to claim our children to bring it home, our prodigal son or daughter. It's that damn simple. Because, see, they did that trying to say that the state needed to be in charge of these items. And I think you'll find some of that under the feudal system, feudal tenure or whatever. Also, an imperfect right, a right which is not a full or perfect right, because he who would enjoy it has been guilty of some wrong, fault, or blame in the matter out of which the right accrued, as where a man sets up a plea of self-defense when he was the original aggressor. But set that aside, that last part, and basically they are claiming that they have the right of being the grantee. Number one, it could not be a valid contract of a grantor-grantee scenario, because an idiot cannot contract. Therefore, your prodigal son could never have made a valid contract. So he could never be lawfully the grantee. And that's why he will lose everything when you bring him home. But he has to bring his belongings with him. Okay, go ahead and open mic. Anybody wants to talk, you've got open mic.
Hey, Patrick, how are you doing today? This is Corey.
Okay.
I've been pretty busy with, work and everything, so I've been catching the calls, as they're recorded. Had an opportunity tonight to get on the call, but I've also been going over the material, all the definitions and everything, but I've also came across some information that, may prove to be useful to add within this process, as watching a couple of movies over the past couple of weeks, which I recommend you and the rest of the listeners check out. The first one is The Right with Anthony Hopkins, and then Season of the Witch with Nicolas Cage. But in both of these, Yeah. You seen that one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Captain America is another good one to watch if you know what the hell Hydra means.
Right. But what I was, reason why I was bringing up these movies, and you actually touched on a couple of things. I came in 19 minutes within the call, so I missed the beginning part. But you said a couple of things that actually tie into what I'm going to present. But the theme of these couple of movies, and if you notice over the course of the past couple of years, a lot of movies came out about exorcism and possession. And so I got to thinking there were a couple of things said in The Rite and also in Season of the Witch about possession and exorcism. So I went ahead and I did Anderson's and Bouvier, or not Bouvier, but Ballantyne's look up on possession. And what I came across, which is very interesting because if you just read possession, it says owning or having a thing in one's power. Now, without legal title over one's own soul, a man or woman may be legally denied right to stand as a person or be treated as a creature and a thing without legally possessing a soul. So the detention or enjoyment of a thing which a man holds or exercises by himself or by another in his name, holding an exclusive exercise of dominion over land. And so when you go back to, actually I recommend that you all go through, look at all the definitions pertaining to possession. There's a lot of information there. One primarily that stood out to me was, and this is a Latin phrase called pedis positio, placing of the foot, a foothold, and then pedis possession of the foot.
Yeah,
I
just went over those two tonight, okay?
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have to place our foot down, but we have to step in as the father or the mother, the natural father or mother, to put and claim our children, okay? See, that's all these are. That certificate of live birth is a birth certificate for a child, a fictionary child.
Right.
Okay? Your spiritual child, or whatever you want to classify it, but basically that's what you have to claim. Okay? If you have natural children, you've got them with you already.
Right.
But if you've got natural children and they have a birth certificate, you need to go in and claim those children's children also. Mm-hmm. Bring them home. All in the family. Bring them all home to your family.
Absolutely. Now that's
all that this is.
Yes.
And that's the responsibility that we have to take. And that's the office found that we needed to find, was the office of father and the office of mother.
Right. Great.
And everybody's been going every other way. And, yeah, all the stuff that I was talking about, all the requirements and codes, or not codes, but rules and regulations, they're all right here when you claim custody of your children. They all come right into play. You don't have to address them all because basically that is within the family. The father has that jurisdiction. Okay?
Well, it's also interesting because if you read the definition of bona fide possessor, which states, possessor is he who holds, detains, or enjoys a thing as his own. A bona fide possessor of land is one who not only supposes himself to be the true proprietor, which in this case the state has taken that claim as the true proprietor, but who is ignorant that his title is contested by another person claiming a better right to the land, which in this regard would be, and tying into what you're referring to, would be the father or the mother, the one who is...
Yeah, and the father and mother, just by that title alone. When you come in and claim your office of father or mother, you have just claimed all of that you're talking about there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to say all that. You've got your claim. And that being a father or mother is superior to any court in the nation. The father and mother have natural rights that are far superior to any codes or anything else.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say. You don't need to go to all these other stuff. This is so damn simple. All you need to do is take that damn hospital, if you have your hospital birth certificate or your Bible entry for you, and then you take the certificate of live birth and march your ass down to some damn court and say, I want my children. You have to release them to me. They're mine. They don't belong to the state, and I'm adopting them. And read what it says about adopt. It's a lot different than basically what normal people think about the word adopt and adoption.
Right.
There's more to it. You're accepting those children back into your household. That's what adopt means, accept. Okay, any other questions? Comments? I mentioned Captain America with Hydra, okay? You're not going to find Hydra in basically the normal dictionaries. You'll have to go to an Oxford or something like that. Well, Hydra is basically a clay pot that has 2 or 3 handles to it. And basically, what do they say? And kill 1, and 2 will come from the 1. That's Hydra in the movie Captain America.
Right.
Well, all these people that have been going out here and getting little bits and pieces here, they're killing 1 item, but they are going to end up creating 2 more down the road. Hydra, the federal Hydra system, will come and get them. The only way you can protect against that is to totally annihilate them out of the picture. And that's when you step in as the father or mother. Any other questions? Comments?
Yeah, this is Steve. Hi, Patrick.
Yeah.
You kind of went over the Pharaoh thing about, them enslaving us or getting us into debt and all that. That the pharetic or Phay. You used another word that was shorter than Pharaoh. It was Phay or something.
Well, the pharetic, system, But, you can look over the definitions when I post them up there to Tom, There's a lot of stuff in there, but basically, like I said, you don't need to have all of it in there.
Right.
In fact, maybe only about 15 to 20 words out of there would you end up utilizing.
Okay.
See, they basically did after-born child, I know no one's ever looked that up in the dictionary. After-born child. A child born to a grantor fit a deed after the execution and delivery of the instrument. Well, what do you think that certificate of live birth was? It was a deed. And basically it gave them to become the grantee. The fictional child to be the grantee. And then basically we abandoned it, okay, because we were only 1 year old and we didn't know we were supposed to go out there and claim him. So basically he sat around in a state of abandonment. So the state came in and claimed that they were going to protect him.
Mm-hmm. Was it a possessory action, which actually states in a possessory action, the right of possession and not that of property is contested. The action decides nothing with respect to the right of property. It merely restores the demandant to that state or condition in which he was or by law ought to have been before dispossession, which is another word to look at, dispossession.
Yeah, but see, you don't need to use that. All you need to do is come in, father, and claim your child that basically took your assets away from you. Bring him home. When you claim your child, you're claiming your possession.
Absolutely.
And see, the courts cannot deny you your child. See, a child is a possession until they turn the age of 21.
Right. And what they have done is a dispossession, in which dispossession is deprivation.
They are holding them holding in a orphanage house.
Right.
And then they're abusing them just like they do with the kids out there at Boys Town and Girls Town out in Nebraska. Pimping them out, whoring them out. I mean, basically, if they got away with this, with our assets, doing this in the orphanage house, hell, they're going to try it in a natural whorehouse or orphanage. That's why I say Oliver Twist and basically Little Orphan Annie. See what goes on in some of these movies. And then, basically, when you see how that Expatriation Act is written up, they knew exactly what was getting ready to take place with this secondary child back in 1868. And Abraham Lincoln and basically the Secretary of State saw this coming, and they got that passed through. And that's why they were killed.
Have
you read all the... Go ahead.
That was passed through the night before they did the 14th Amendment, wasn't it?
Right.
Right, okay.
Have you read all of the definitions in Anderson pertaining to possession?
Yes, but we don't need to worry about all of those, okay? You just need to worry about getting your fucking children back. That's how simple this is. Get your children back. Become the father. Take the responsibility of fathership and claim your children. Then you will have your assets. Then you can sit down and study all this other shit if you want. Like all these other people need to go out and they need to learn all the fucking codes out here that have nothing to do with them. But I got to know that. You don't need to know that shit. You need to know what is right and wrong. And that is totally wrong, so you stay away from it. A lot of these words are in there. Basically confuse the issue. I've touched on, like I said, on possession numerous times over and over again. I've set numerous things into the court. But I never came in as the father. I never came in claiming my office of father. Right. I never claimed my children. I never took the responsibility of my children, my offspring, whether they be natural or whether they be unnatural.
That's very interesting.
That's the bottom line.
That you bring
that
up.
That's how simple this was. Okay?
Yeah, that's the occupation, is that of the father.
It's the office of father, okay?
Right.
And see, that's under the office found doctrine that we've been looking for. What is the office that is the highest office in the land? It's the office of father. Father knows best, I think, was the damn TV show.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's interesting also because as the father is being the highest office, the children are also property of the estate of the father upon the marriage. And what's very interesting is you have numerous occasions within the Bible, the church is referred to as a woman. So now you have your ecclesiastical connection to that tribunal, where you have the father and you have the mother, the mother being the ecclesiastical body, and now you have
the Pope of Rome basically is classified as the father of the church, okay? All the priests, okay? In the Roman Catholic Church, in the Episcopalian Church, and several other churches out there, they all go by the title of father. It says clearly in the Bible, call no man your father. It tells you right there. But yet these people still go to these damn churches and go and listen to some nitwit that's claiming to be a father, and he's not, because he's holding the office, your office of father over your fictional children.
Right.
You've got to rebut that claim with the church and get your baptismal child back.
Right.
See how simple this is? All you need to do is rebut that and basically bring back them by adoption. Approval. Selecting and taking as one's own that which was not so before. That's what adoption is.
So you come in this deed or will to the court, pretty much stating that or differentiating between you and the artificial person, and then adopting that child as being the artificial person.
You just come in there and say, I'm coming in here and I'm claiming my children, both natural and basically artificial, or my begotten, okay? My begotten children. And here is one of my begotten children. Here's his birth certificate. DD 214 is another birth certificate. Baptismal document is another birth certificate.
And you're not saying that we should execute these instruments.
No, you basically come in and basically adopt them.
Okay.
You're adopting your children.
Right.
Because they are now being held under a foreign nationality, and you need to bring them home because they are true American citizens, not the federal United States citizen, which is a foreign country, or a Church of Rome citizen. And see, when you adopt them, now they take on the naturalization of the father or mother.
Everything you're saying makes sense. I was just trying to understand, because I've been also going over the reconveyance and reassignment documents.
Put that aside for right now, okay? I give you I made this so damn simple. Everything else that's out there, basically you can throw in the garbage can. Just take a look at this 9-page document that I'll send to Tom, and then go in and claim your children. Come in as the father or mother. That's simple.
Yeah, it encompasses it all and takes it in. You can do with it what you will then once they rejoin the household. I understand that completely.
Yes, and it's all covered in the Our Father, the Lord's Prayer.
Right.
And see, The Lord is praying to the Father to basically come and get him out of trouble.
But isn't that taking the liability of whatever they have going on with that fiction?
No, they've got to close everything down.
What about the bonds and stuff that they've
got to close everything down. Do you hear that? They close everything down.
What happens, though, to the ones that they have, like with the other countries and stuff that have grabbed?
They close them down.
Yeah, I know you're
okay,
saying it.
They're
it's
done.
A perfect world.
When you claim your child back, you get it free and clear. Okay? No ties. You pulled him out of their jurisdiction. Now, what you do with that after that, that's your problem. Okay?
Right.
And basically, most of you won't know what the hell to do with it because you don't understand the monetary system. You don't understand commodities. You've never taken the time to go and study this. You've never really sat down and studied wagering, like at the games, at casinos. I have done all of this stuff. And I should have saw this before, and basically, I knew all along that basically one of the key things was you had to take the responsibility of the father and claim your children.
That makes clear sense, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just find it, funny that, I'm just a step behind you because I stumbled upon this stuff over the past week, and I've just been reviewing. I was going to call you personally, but I figured, might as well get on the call so everybody else could hear. But you had already touched base on that before I jumped on the call, so there you go.
Well, listen to the call numerous times over, and then when I get this over to Tom, and he gets it posted, and see, idol worship. What does idol mean? Something that is not in operation. And basically, idol worship is condemned throughout the Bible.
Yes.
But yet, everything out here is in idol worship in this country. That is a false religion.
Right.
Savings accounts are idol worship. Insurance policies are idol worship. They're taking your assets away from you and holding them from you in an idle state, and then they turn around and write bonds against them for their benefit. But the assets are being held in idleness, not for operation by you. And see, you're sitting there, you're worshiping an idol. That insurance policy, that savings account. All for naught.
Engraven images, and it says to burn those things.
You cash them out.
It says burn them.
Idle, not employed. In the case of an industrial plant, not operating in production. And see, that's what your money is in those insurance policies and those savings accounts. It's not in production. It's not doing a damn thing for this country. It's only helping the money changers. And they are not helping this country. And then your fictional person is also a vagrant. One guilty of vagrancy. Vagrancy, the wandering or going about from place to place by an idle person without lawful, visible means of support, subsisting on charity or refraining from working for a living. Your person is idle. and he's sitting there under the care of the state. So he's a vagrant. There was a movie out about Idiocy, I-D-I-O-C-Y, I think, about all these people in the distant future, basically sitting around, and basically this one guy came in, and he wasn't the smartest guy on the block, but he ended up becoming the president. And he only had an IQ of about maybe 70, but everybody else had been dumbed down so much, they only had an IQ of about 30 or 40. So he was the smartest man out there. Idiots. Okay, any other questions? About father or mother, or about going into the court, taking these right in there, and basically, we knew that something had to be very simple, how these guys got their items settled. And when you claim your children, basically that shuts down everything. Because, see, when you claim these, they, like all your traffic tickets and everything else, who is the defendant? He's insane. He's a fiction. He's an incompetent. So when you put your foot down that you are not the defendant, and see, they can only bring a charge in their court system against a fiction. They really can't bring it against the living, and as long as you do not consent, then they have no claim over you. You don't need a driver's license. You don't need a certificate of title on the vehicle. Those are just insurance policies, placing some of your asset in idleness out here, and then basically they're not giving you anything out of it and making you pay out of your back pocket when you consent. So stop consenting to anything. But get in there as father and mother and claim your children. Then you will have your assets. Because the courts cannot deny you your children.
Right, you have the right to enjoy your children, to the enjoyment of your children.
Whatever you want to look at it. You have the right of control over your children.
Right. So this
all that grantee and grantor bullshit was all for their benefit.
Okay. So this really does supersede the document we were working on, because we were looking at the way
it simplifies it all down to one simple deal. You just take the damn fictional birth certificates in and claim your children.
Okay.
You come in as the father and say, I am here claiming my children. Release my children now.
Good.
I am basically adopting them. And basically that means you are accepting them into your family.
Mm-hmm.
Too damn simple. And all the other bullshit out there by the patriot community or whoever basically claimed to be a patriot, they were complete idiots. Or they were deceivers.
So what court should we go to perform this?
Whatever court you want to go to. Try them all. Damn. Come on.
The chief judge is still the best bet.
Well, the federal district court, I would say, because your certificate of live birth and the naturalization is with the United States, with the federal United States.
All right.
Okay? Where do you get your Social Security tax bills and everything from? Not from the state taxes,
nope,
but from the federal taxes. And then the state jumps on there and tries to claim some too, in some states. No, you go to the federal. You go to Pilate. Okay? Just like Jesus did.
Okay.
And then you also have a right of burial. And see, you have the right to bury your children. So when I turned around and sent in there last week that basically I was killing my children, then I have the right of burial, and I have the right of all their possessions too.
Well, they're returning them dead.
Yeah, if you want to do it that way.
Yeah.
But you have the right of burial.
Right.
And see, that's one of your rights. Right of burial. The right to the custody of the dead body of a person for the purpose of burial, such as the right of surviving spouse or child of a decedent.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been referring to that child or the infant as a decedent.
All belongings and everything else have to come with the body. That you make that perfectly clear. Belonging, okay? Belongings. Personal effect, a word often involved with jurisdiction rule of construction. And see, they constructed this child. So it was a child by construction.
Yes.
Not a real child.
Right.
Pinocchio. You sit here and think about all these different shows and everything else that basically were out there. And see, Pinocchio came alive when he was adopted. He knew that he was loved then. And love brought him to life.
Okay, well, I've heard what I needed to hear for tonight. Thank you, Patrick.
Okay.
You have a good night.
Okay.
If I have any further questions throughout the week, is it okay to give you a call?
Try and do it on the group first, okay? I want you guys on the group to basically intermingle, talk this thing back and forth. I've done my job, okay? Now, I'm just about tired of the whole damn thing, and I'm getting out. I'm going to claim my children, and basically I'm going to go hide.
Well, you certainly deserve the rest, just relief from all stress.
I want to say thanks for helping, discovering this, Patrick, because I don't think we would have discovered it, and at least you're sharing it with us. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah, and it wasn't really until I really, over the last week or so, started hammering on the Our Father and then strictly going by the Bible. That's the only place you're going to find the truth. And then, in a lot of cases, when you get into the Bible, you have to read more than one story at different points in time, because you have to compare the metaphor that was used 6,000 years ago to the metaphor that was used 4,000 years ago to the metaphor that was used 2,000 years ago, and basically bring it up to modern time and see what is really going on.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all, the Bible was totally written in metaphoric conditions. But it was telling you the truth if you knew how to find it. And then in some regards, yeah, there was a lot of bad truth in there to try and deceive you that was written in by the writers of the Bibles later on, by the religious leaders.
Right, scribes.
But you can read between the lines and see the differences when that has taken place.
Yeah, like you just said, when you put it on the slide rule of time.
Yeah, you do that, and basically then you also try and get an audio of it, and basically the whole Bible and everything is on audio, both the New and the Old Testament, and then you also have different versions of the Bible out there that, and basically like the Geneva Bible, most of the items, they have a lot of footnotes or whatever else in there to try and give you a slightly different outlook on certain things, but use those also as a comparison to see what is really being said.
Mm-hmm.
Never take everything as gospel. The Ten Commandments. What did Jesus say about the Ten Commandments? He said there was only two. So what were the rest of the Ten Commandments? Thou shalt not kill. Well, see, thou shalt not kill is different than thou shalt not murder. Murder deals with a human being. Kill means bring to an end something. So who wanted you to stop killing? The bankers. They didn't want you to kill their contracts. Fornication. Basically, there again, they're the biggest ones of fornication out there, of sexual intercourse or of intercourse between the fictions.
Hmm.
No, Jesus just stuck with the first two. Love thy neighbor as thyself was one of the big ones. But you see, most people can't even love themselves. That's beyond their total capability of understanding. They abuse their body in more ways than you could shake a stick at. And that's not loving yourself. Okay, any other questions? I'll shut up for a while.
What do you think the second one was? Would that be maybe do not create grave?
Go into the Bible and read it. Okay, I'm not going to tell you.
All right, I'll read it.
Yeah.
Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and all thy mind and all thy soul. First one. Second one, love thy neighbor as thyself.
Yeah, really, they replaced the word Father with Lord.
Now,
should have been love thy father, as in the first commandment.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what I mean. You got to look at how some of these they took out the word Father in so many different scenarios. Because if it was in the Bible, the way it was supposed to be, where it was now utilized as Lord, okay, people would have saw a lot of this stuff a long time ago. So by replacing father and even mother in some cases, and putting the word Lord in there, then basically the people never understood what was really being said. And then so many of these religious people out here just take that whole thing as total gospel. It's a good law book, okay, of laws. The laws are there that have to be honored, but you have to interpret what the law is really saying. Okay, any other questions, comments, rebuttals?
My question is, with all these remedies and all these different approaches that we're trying with their court systems,
I told you not to do any of them, okay? I just put an end to all that tonight.
I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm just sort of curious as to wonder if there is a peaceful way out of this system, or if they're going to continue to ignore our pleas and our attempts.
Hey, when you come in as the father or the mother, you stand over that court. They have to give you your children. See, right now they're sitting in the office of father because you haven't claimed it. That's the whole problem. We haven't claimed our office of father or mother.
You stand there and you claim it. What makes them have to acknowledge you when the person who's paying their bankroll wants them to keep you subjugated so that they can continue to pilfer, control, and use us as slaves until the day we die?
You do not believe, okay? You just don't believe, okay? You don't believe.
You might as well just give up now, buddy.
Oh, I don't want to give up, but I think it's going to take a little bit more than going into their...
No, it's not going to take anything more. If you go into court or go into a judge, you request to see a judge. I am coming here to claim my children at the federal court level. Send him a damn fax, okay? Write it up. Show the certificate of live birth. Here is my damn claim check for my child. Now, are you going to give me my child, or are you in contempt of the laws of nature and of this country? At that point in time, you could go up to a federal court of appeals and basically bring charges against them for kidnapping.
Yep.
After 3 days, it stands as a kidnapping charge. Think about it. You've seen this in the movies. Basically, a lot of the police and everything can't do anything until 3 days' time has elapsed. The remedy has been in a lot of these movies that we've seen.
That's what the 72 hours is about.
I appreciate what you're saying, and I see the same stuff you're seeing, but I just don't know if there's anything less than a non-peaceful solution to this situation.
Well, if you don't want
it's going to be an adverse scenario in this regard. Yes.
It took war to throw off the bonds the first time until they came back in the back door and took it. How do we think we're going to get freedom from their system without doing it again?
When you get your child brought out of their system, okay, you get his assets. You're going to get the bonds in gold-backed bearer bonds. Now you can take those to any fucking commodity broker and cash them in. You don't need the federal government, because the federal government with the Federal Reserve Bank is going to fuck you. They're going to take one silver dollar and give you 7 cents, a 7-cent Federal Reserve dollar in exchange, unless you know about the conversion ratio of commodities. That's what I'm saying. You people really don't know anything about the monetary system in this country. You need to wake up and get out there and study this shit.
That's right.
Find out how you're being screwed in your wages. Find out that it's a total fraud out here of making $7 an hour and still paying income tax. $7 an hour is less than basically about 40 cents an hour in silver in 1960 money.
I've studied the fraud. I know how the fraud works, and I know how...
No, you don't. I can guarantee you do not know how all of this fraud works, because you don't know about the commodities, you don't know about all the wagering games and everything else they play. You don't know that all these damn certificates of title to your vehicle and everything else are insurance policies.
I do.
That insurance policy is supposed to buy you a new vehicle when the old one dies. But you don't know how to cash it in. And the only way you're going to get this is to get your children out of their control, because they're the grantee over your assets. So when you take them and take them home, you're out of their damn system. And the subject.
If they let you take them home.
Huh?
Again, 'cause you said if they let you take them home, because if they don't, you got to go to the Federal Appeals Court. Now, the Federal Appeals Court belongs to the federal government, and you just said the federal government's going to screw you. So
you can bring kidnapping charges against them, okay?
Just like we bring charges for real crimes against police and officers of the court on a daily basis, and you
can sit here and argue this fucking point all day long. You have no faith and belief, okay?
Right.
You do not believe that basically there are some people out here that are going to uphold the law. And they're just waiting for you to come in as the father or the mother. That's all they've been waiting for. Remove them from the office of father and mother, and then they can't control you anymore.
I remove them.
I'll do it. I'll believe it when I see it, because I've believed a lot of other things that they have said over the years to get freedom from their judicial system, and all the judges do is look at you, laugh, and
that's right.
Money
and that's what I told you. They're going to sit there and laugh at us because we're not coming in as a responsible parent and claiming our children. That's why nothing has worked.
Listen, you want to give up now? If you want to give up right now, then just give up.
I don't want to give up. at the point where I sort of believe the only thing that's really going to bring freedom is force. That's all.
Okay. You go get your fucking gun, and basically they'll shoot you out of the saddle before you get anywhere close to getting this proper understanding.
Yeah, show us how to do that, yeah.
No. I don't want to know anything about going and taking up arms against them. They've got more fucking guns than you do.
Right.
You will lose every fucking time in that scenario.
Not then the people united, and that's why they're trying to take our guns. And that's the problem. None of us are united.
The only way that this is going to work is when each individual person starts standing up and claiming their children. Nothing else.
Yeah, the means of violence and using arms, that's been done in the past, and it's brought us right back to the same situation every time.
Yeah, it brought us freedom for a short period of time before the people who we believed we could trust in leadership turned around and told us.
Right, but it's going to take each individual taking an active involvement in their own personal involvement within what we have going on here. What we have going on here, you have to take control of your assets, essentially, and this is how you do it.
You have to take control of your children. That's the bottom line, okay?
Absolutely.
Until you can take the responsibility of being a father and mother, basically, you're not anything. You haven't taken the responsibility, and that basically is what the whole damn problem in this country is. Nobody's taken their responsibilities. They sit and bitch about the government, and they don't understand that they have a remedy sitting right in front of them. All they have to do is claim their children.
But it just doesn't feel like they're trying to stop this group from finding the solution, because any solution we come with to their court isn't going to work. But every time there's a group that's trying to unite the people and bring together...
You're wrong. You're wrong. They are giving me every opportunity to find the truth, to find the rest of the way in there. They've even come back and told me that I know what I want, but I'm not approaching them in the right way. I didn't come in as the father to claim my children. That was what was missing. We knew all along that this had to be fucking simple. Okay? People have gone in the court and basically handed a simple document to the court. We never knew what they really said, but that's all it had to be, was they were claiming their children.
Right, the same laws and the same procedure of requiring guardianship over a child apply to not just the actual natural person as being an actual child, but also an artificial child.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going in to take claim over is your artificial child. That's how you have to see it. Everything else that would apply to normal circumstances.
This is worldwide. This is the same scenario worldwide. Okay?
Yes.
It had to be that simple. Because it's worldwide. See, none of these other countries have all the damn stinking codes we have. They might have some other damn stinking codes, but basically, and see, we're coming in there, and until you claim the responsibility, the office of father and mother, which is the superior office on planet Earth of being a father and mother, that is the superior office of anywhere in the world, is father and mother. But you have to
Pat,
claim
I gotta go.
fictional.
Have a good night, man. Everyone else have a good night.
Huh? Okay.
I was just saying good night. Yeah, I gotta go. I'll listen to the rest of the call. Take care.
Any other comments?
No, I don't think so, Patrick.
Okay, well, I'll get that. I'll send that 9-page definitions over to you tomorrow morning.
Okay, and I'll get it up right away.
Okay.
Hey, thanks, Patrick.
Thank you very
really
much. This is very clear. This is very clear. Thank you.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye.
Okay, we will.